3 exercises to bulletproof your elbows and forearms. That's a small little detail that I don't think people emphasize a lot, because when you really need your grip, it's not always gonna be in a fixated point of a push-up joint there. Even though it's a hinge joint, we wanna challenge rotation. For this first setup, we're gonna be in between a rack. We got a single band setup here. We're using a fat grip. DJ one time grabbed this. It's a little bit more comfortable on the hand, a little bit wider grip, and allows you to kind of fight over. When it comes to our grip training, I think we take a lot of inspiration. DJ sends me quite a few things of arm wrestling, but it's a great way to look at grip, rotational strength, creating torque, having strong wrists going up to the forearms and elbows. And we want to create a robust joint there. Even though it's a hinge joint, we want to challenge rotation. And this is a solid setup to really load that tissue. We get a lot of questions about when do we incorporate some of these isolated movements. I mean, it's no secret in the GBRS Performance Program, we have a 5-day training week. So we really get to add in these small detail movements and really try to focus on the details of these bigger global movements by zooming into these localized movements. But this would be something you could put at the end of an arm day, at the end of a deadlift pulling day. I mean, even sometimes we'll play around and put this at the end of our core rotational day. Just kind of touch on the details of our wrists and forearms, just really try to create robustness around that area, because it's no secret with the amount of upper body work we do. We need to really take care of those elbows.
I like using a stack grip. Always been a fan of them. Anytime you can throw them up, just make that surface a little bit wider, it's nice. But I like to break the grip on some of these, just to change up a little different variant. So rotate it all the way over, kind of break my grip, 4 fingers, and have to reestablish.
Like resetting it every time?
Exactly. Like I can lock this thing and I can kind of crank him over and I can muscle through it. But if I have to use all the extensors, all my fingers open up, I have to reestablish a firm, because it's not easy to roll this thing over.
Yeah.
I feel like I can get a little more connected to the process and a little more intent behind it if I have to reestablish my grip after every one. Just something to break up the monotony of it.
All right, this next movement, we're gonna add some rotation into a curling pattern. So I got DJ with this tiny little towel that he was already complaining about. But from here, just hands in this overhand grip, and he's gonna simultaneously curl while rotating, using the towel to kind of push against as you curl. I really love this for challenging the biceps, challenging the forearms, really loading that grip rotationally. Just a solid setup, a solid arm movement that we can add in with our training that really creates some robustness around those joints, durability around that area. Definitely something I might not prioritize when it comes to arm work, because it is gonna take a lot out of your forearms, but something you can add in at the tail end with whatever training level you're at, the amount of weight that you choose. What do you think about this one?
I think it's a great finisher for me. I like to end on this. I don't want to go too heavy because it does tax your forearms out for sure. But if you break it up in segments, like as soon as I start to build pressure, I always want to stay out, to me, kind of level, because it puts so much pressure on my wrist to keep them flat. And when I get to here, transition for the bicep concentration. But that right there, to be able to hold that and not let my wrist collapse, just a good addition too.
That's a small little detail that I don't think people emphasize a lot, but when DJ's holding this position, how many times have you seen people do like tricep pushdowns and their wrists are kind of floppy, or they're doing a bicep curl and their wrists are kind of floppy? This really challenges you to keep that stiff forearm, almost like you had a splint from the back of your hand all the way up, and you're really trying to maintain that board as you rotate. It's a great movement to add in, an accessory movement, really challenge your grip, challenge your forearm, really load those elbows rotationally.
One of my favorite little exercises we ever did for grip, elbow, wrist strength, just overall, without ego lifting, Vernon saw me doing it one day, is we used to have a sledgehammer at work. So based on how high you yoke this thing up, could you do extension? Could you rotate it all the way over?
Old man strength.
What's that?
Old man strength.
Old man strength, right? But it's the same thing for here. Can I rotate this whole thing over? Can I keep my palms level? And can I bring it back up? But a lot of people, they don't have a place to start from. This might just be too heavy for some people, so they lose motivation to try it. So Vernon came in here with these adjustable dumbbells. The closer the weight is to your body, the easier it is. The farther it gets away, the more leverage it's going to have on it. What we do is just walking down and forth. It's not a crazy low, but it's just enough to get crazy amount of blood flow into your elbow, into your forearm, into your wrist, and then to get creative with it. So you extend them back out. And then I like to rotate them in a huge circle, kind of collapse my grip to allow for the range of motion, then reestablish the grip. It's not bad. Switch from both arms, and then when you get them as far as you can, a little bit extra pressure, rotate it over nice and easy, shake it out, hold it, back in position. All the way over, feel the stretch, back up.
I think stuff like this is super cool because we'd like to complicate things and make things as hard as possible when it comes to, in my community's strength and conditioning world. But you see people doing this, man. DJ's probably been doing this way before anyone talked to him about working out when it comes to creating strength of the forearm. I remember people back in the day, like DJ said, with sledgehammer tricks, trying to touch it to your nose or whatnot. But he's exactly on point here, challenging pronation and supination, really challenging rotation of that forearm, and then going forward and back. The ulnar and radial deviation, we talked a lot about recoil management, and this is a great one for it because it's something that's constantly overlooked. But then, as DJ said, we have the black and white of rotating isolated, the black and white of deviating isolated, but then exploring that rotation once you've kind of established that connection with the weight, established a good strength baseline that you can kind of have fun with that rotation, really challenge your wrist, because when you really need your grip, it's not always going to be in a fixated point of a push-up. It might be some random grab that you have to land on your hand or whatnot, and exposing the tissue in your body to all these training capabilities. This stimulus is going to really connect the dots when we talk about that functional world, being able to be available, not getting hurt, injury management, stuff like that. Being able to expose our body to stress in the weight room, we have a really cool opportunity to bridge the gap to what we face in a daily life. So the cool part about all this, these are great ways to end your training day, to kind of really isolate that grip and try to challenge it. But as well, if you're dealing with elbow pain, some sort of restrictive issue, you can add these in for a couple reps at the beginning of a session, not to be fatiguing, and really try to bolster that area, warm things up properly, but just make sure we're not going too far in the fatiguing area. Save that for the end of the workout.